Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something really interesting. It's a new thing. It's called alpha-gal syndrome. So, how many of you guys have heard about alpha-gal syndrome? This is the thing that is, let's say, causing people to be allergic to meat, although what they're really allergic to is not meat. It's a carbohydrate that's found in meat called alpha-gal. So anyway, what is this about and how does this work? Well, let me, as you guys know, I mean, I study the endocannabinoid system, so I have a little bit different view of how you work, how interactions happen inside of you. Let's say I have a little different view of how, if you're a traditionally trained physician or researcher, a little bit different view of than you of how we work. But that doesn't mean that it's, both are equally valid, let's say. But let's talk this through from, let's say, a traditional medicine perspective, and then perhaps come to some new conclusions based on some new information. All right. So I need to get that set up right. Now I'm good. So now I can really talk to you guys. So alpha-gal syndrome, what is it? Well, first of all, it's a carbohydrate that is in meat, but it's also it's like in the cellular tissue that's incorporated in meat, but it could also be in gelatin. It can be in, a lot of different things because it's just part of that, let's say, cellular wall structure that's in the muscle that would become meat. And it's called alpha-gal. Now, and it's a carbohydrate, again, which is kind of unusual. Most of the time, if I'm going to kind of make you allergic to something or you're going to become allergic to something, then that thing is likely going to be some kind of a protein. So it's a little bit unusual for us to be allergic to a carbohydrate. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing right off. You go, well, this is unusual. The second thing that's unusual is, again, why do you suddenly become allergic to something? That's a whole Chip Talks that we'll do separately, but that has to do with a substance called IgE and really how your mast cells kind of configure themselves. They'll have IgE on the outside of them that'll be sensitive to certain things. And that sensitivity can kind of build up. So you could start off like, again, everybody who's allergic, let's say to alpha-gal, at some point in their lives, were not allergic to alpha-gal. And that's just the way that allergies work. So you're going to basically become allergic to things as a threshold. So your body's going to kind of be able to tolerate, let's say, so much of that thing. And then you're going to be pushed over an edge where you'll then become allergic to that thing anytime that you see it. So your body's used to kind of developing these sensitivities, but it works through something called IgE. Okay, so IgE is, let's say, the measure of sensitivity and kind of the thing that would throw us over the edge. And that's the way allergies work. So, but it's highly interesting that how in the world are people who become allergic to this carbohydrate, how are they pushed over the edge? Because it's like there's no mechanisms. It's we don't, if it was just meat, then why the heck weren't people getting alpha-gal syndrome in 800 BC, from eating polar bears and mammoths and mastodons and all that stuff, right? So why is this new? Why is it happening now? Well, they have associated a tick bite, and then consuming this protein kind of at the same time or closely related to each other to causing this sensitivity. Okay. Well, okay, that kind of explains some of it, but that doesn't explain all of it. A lot of us live in cities. We're not exposed to ticks, and yet we're still getting this alpha-gal syndrome. So could it be something else? And it turns out, and this is kind of somewhat new research. This is research from 2022. But it turns out that, yes, indeed, roundworms could also cause this situation. And this study is out there. It's really easy to find. So Ascaris however you say the last word of a roundworm, and alpha-gal, and you'll pull this study right up. And we'll put it in the links too. But again, what this study is saying is that not only ticks can cause this, let's say, pushing of the threshold where you're very close to the sensitivity, but also roundworms can do this. And the reason that this is important is, again, how many of us get bitten by ticks? I mean, some of us do, but certainly not, let's say, an explainable statistical percentage of the population to account for the dramatic rise in alpha gal. So it's got to be something else. So again, Ascaris completely explains it. Roundworms are in 60, 70% of us. So if roundworms can cause this, then that kind of explains everything. Okay. So kind of cool. I mean, looking to be like we have a potential explanation for this. And again, there's more to the explanation, and let me walk you through that, because that's also part of the solution. So we'll talk about that in a second. So for some reason, you're really sensitive. Okay. And that's what we'll talk about in a second. So we're super sensitive. It's like we're a real tweaky machine right now. And it's because of our diet. And again, that's what we'll talk about in a second. But we're this real tweaky machine. And so when something like Ascaris roundworms, I'll just call them that, when something like roundworm or a tick invades us and infects us, what it does is it begins to tweak all this sensitivity, right? And so we hit these thresholds like an IgE threshold a lot faster than we normally would if we could understand how to turn down all this, right? Okay, so here's the solution. Let's turn down this first, because this is going to help you in 100,000 different ways other than allergy sensitivities and sensitivities to this kind of stuff. What causes this? Okay, you're a very sensitive machine, and this has to do with the endocannabinoid system. And again, this is what I study all the time. The endocannabinoid system is not fed by cannabis, it's fed by dietary fats. And in particular, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids that are essential. They're the only two fats that you have to put in your body. You cannot make them inside your body. You got to have them. They're more important than vitamins. They're more important than protein. They're the most important things that you put in your body every single day. And we don't even realize this. We ho-hum this. But let me tell you how it works. Equal omega-3 and omega-6s. You set a real, like, let's say, loose sensitivity to external and internal mediators as to inflammation or deflammation. So we're real loose if we're one-to-one, and we can inflame or deflame and kind of recover real quick, okay? So we don't have a lot of sensitivity, and this is where we want to be. So if you have alpha-gal, this is where you want to be, because it'll lessen your sensitivity to the alpha-gal carbohydrate. I keep wanting to say protein because all allergies are protein, carbohydrate, but it will lessen your sensitivity to that. Okay. And that's what we want, right? So we want your sensitivity lessened. Well, how do you do that? Well, look at your O3 to O6 input. And most of us don't pay attention to this right now, but if you just eat like normal humans, it's 1 to 40. If you have a 1 to 40 input, you're cranking up this sensitivity spring like crazy. And any minor allergen, minor inflammatory thing, anything that touches cells in a certain way, whap, is going to cause this massive overreaction, like alpha gal. Okay. So again, what can we do? How can we turn down that tweakiness? That tweakiness can be turned down by upping your omega-3 fatty acid intake. That easy, because most of us just eat way too many omega-6s. Pay attention to omega-6s, cut back on your input of corn. If you're eating high fructose corn syrup, that's one of the worst things in the world. Cut back on your input of corn and corn products and up your input of omega-3s. That will crank back this sensitivity and you won't be so sensitive. Will it get rid of the alpha-gal allergy? Likely not, but you may become so insensitive where you can eat meat again and kind of function like a normal human again, and that's what we want. Second thing to do, easy to get rid of roundworms. Ivermectin, baby. That's what it was designed for. Ivermectin was literally designed to get rid of parasites, and a roundworm is just a parasite. So ivermectin will get rid of it. We also have a product in Trumetics that we've just built called deworm. And deworm is full of stuff like black walnut seed hull and, you know, the stuff that's in rosemary and thyme that makes it so effective as an anti-parasitic. So because it's so hard to get ivermectin, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just build one. So we built one. It's in Trumetics. So there it is. Oh, nope. I got to go this way. Trumetics right there. So www.trumetics.com. And you will find the deworm product. That product will help you. So again, if you have alpha-gal, the two things that will really help you, up your omega-3 fatty acid content and deworm, baby, deworm. So deworm in any way that you see fit. We do have a product at Trumetics. So there you go. See you guys later. We'll be back again, at least next Friday, with another exciting episode of Chip Talk. Sounds like I need to talk about allergies more. We'll likely do that in an upcoming episode. Anyway, see you guys. Love you guys. Bye.